everyone. Welcome back to the Belinda Norm Podcast. And today I have a very special guest, my friend, Patricia, who I've known for so long. And basically, we are going to be talking about the topic around anxiety at work, the great resignation and the burnout and the hustle culture, which seems to trying to motivate people, but sometimes actually ends up doing the opposite. So me and Patricia are actually going to share our experiences of working in that some sort of hustle burnout environment. And we just want to, share our experiences, how we dealt with it, and maybe give you guys some advice on how we dealt with it and how we came out in the end. So before we actually start off going into the actual topic itself, I want to introduce Patricia. Well, Patricia, introduce yourself. Please say who you are, what you're doing now, and everything amazing about you.
Hi guys, I'm Patricia. I'm 26. I live in London and I have a business that is part of a company called Monet, where we sell luxury hair care, skincare products, and make everyone's life amazing through those stuff. So yeah. Yeah.
Wow, amazing. I didn't know you had your own business. Wow.
Yes, I'm just well, it's something I've recently started, and it's definitely exciting. But yeah, it's amazing though.
Oh wow. Okay. We will definitely get into that a business later on. But
yes.
We want to talk about our past experiences on actually being full-time employed and like being a full-time employee and what it's like to really work in that some sort of environment. So let's just explain, like, what did we do for work? What was like yours and mine's responsibilities, and how long we have worked there? I'll let you go first.
Yeah, so I was working in the television industry. My role was pretty much production assistant. It's pretty self-explanatory. You're just assisting production, whatever needs to be done, serving teas and coffees, just like printouts, all these different types of stuff. So that was my main role. And I came to the realization at one point when I was doing that job that I wasn't being fulfilled. I felt so drained. And it blew my mind because I've always studied kind of television. I have a degree in TV production. I've always done media. Like, it's always been my thing. It's what I breathe. It's everything. And so to have that realization of like, wait, this isn't fulfilling me anymore, was definitely like scary and daunting. But I knew like what was on the other side of me taking a step out and like maybe taking a step away from there was so much more beneficial than actually staying in there where I was like dying inside, struggling with my mental health and things like that. So yeah, that's what I was in.
How long were you there for?
So with the TV industry, for those of you who don't know, it's contract based and like freelance. So I wasn't there for a long time. The job that I was in that kind of made me have that like epiphany kind of realization thing was actually only 2 months, but it felt so much longer. Like a day felt like a week there. I like looked back and I was like, wait, I started this job in September and it's now November, and I'm like, it feels like I was here for my whole life. But yeah, I was only 2 months.
Yeah, for me, I was like, I didn't work in like TV or anything, but I very much worked in like digital marketing. And for those of you who don't know, like we basically, I wouldn't say we follow everything that Google does, but like because we do a lot of our digital marketing stuff on Google, we follow Google for that. But it was very much just like help, because most of our clients were healthcare professionals and pharmaceuticals. They don't really know the whole digital world and the internet scope as much as we do. So we were kind of like the consultants and telling them what to do and giving them so much work. And a lot of my responsibilities were very much around content. And it wasn't necessarily like creating content and being creative. It was very much just finding keywords of how they can get their content up in like the first page of Google for the first search results and things like that. And working with pharmaceuticals, they have a lot of restrictions. So it's kind of like, well, what can you do with that kind of work when they just like very protective with what they want to keep to themselves and what they can show publicly. So it's definitely a challenge working with those kind of like clients. And I was at my last agency of work for like 3 years. So I was the first person they ever hired outside of their little core group. So I was very much like looked as someone who's been there for so long and like someone who knows the business, well, the agency inside out. So I kind of have that reputation. And then after 3 years, I was just like, I think it's really is time to go. And which leads me to my next question. I wanted to understand, like, what was your purpose of leaving? I mean, I know for you it was for contract, but let's say like if if you didn't have a contract, would you have stayed?
Oh girl, no. I would have left. I was like daydreaming about leaving like every single day. I was like looking for jobs, trying to find like fulfillment through other places. Yeah, I for sure would have left. It definitely would have taken a lot out of me because I think I've struggled with confidence for such a long time. But looking back, I'm just like, I would have 100% left. Like, I don't know what I was doing there in the first place. Because it was just, to be honest, I feel like it was definitely like a learning experience, like being there. But going back, I'm like, no, I would have not have done it in the first place, I think.
Was it like the overworking and you feel like a little bit underappreciated? Like, yeah.
It was a mixture of different things. I would say like half of it was like the environment. I didn't like the environment, the people I was working with sometimes, or some of them. The hours, I was waking up at like 5 a.m. to get there at 8 and then come home at like 9 p.m. And then I'd have to go to bed like 5 minutes after getting home. I'd have no like social life. I was working on weekends. And when I would have days off, like all my friends would be like at work. So I just always felt alone and like, it was just a terrible time. So that half of it was for sure like part of the reason. But the other part was just like, I knew deep down, like I was meant to be doing something else. I was like, surely like life isn't just about being in a job that you hate and that drains you and that doesn't give you some kind of like fulfillment. And I think, and I feel like maybe we'll talk more about it in later in the podcast, but like, I noticed that what I wanted was so much more than just like my own kind of desire to get my CV looking amazing. Like I've worked with this amazing company and it was amazing. Like it was an incredible company. But it was so much more than that. I was like, surely I'm not just meant to be like doing all this like production stuff and like filming and like being a part of that whole process. But I just realized, I was like, you know what? I really want to help people. Like it was just one of those things. And I've never really been in that kind of I was going to say been in that like sphere of helping people. But like, it was just more of like, I knew there was so much more for myself. And it even came from a conversation. There was one of my colleagues, we were chatting and like, just before he came into the room, I remember just like really being emotional and thinking like, what do I want to do? Like, what is like my core kind of purpose right now in my life? And the first thing that came up was helping people. And I remember he then came in like 10 minutes after. And by the way, I was like talking to myself, obviously, as you do. It's like you have to, honestly, talking to myself gives me sanity. So anyway, he walked in and we were just having conversation. He was like, what's your like dream? And obviously he was kind of implying the industry. And I was like, do you know what? I just want to help people. Like, I just want to be a support in some way, help people building confidence and help people grow and have like, know that they have potential. Because I think a lot of times it's so easy to just be in the space of like, I'm not good enough, or like, almost like seeing how much you're getting paid as like your value, or like just all these different things. And it's like, you're so much more than that. And it just, I think I got to a point where I was like, I don't want to be in this industry anymore. I want to just like help people and help people with hair. Obviously that's what my business kind of is, but like more than anything, just really deep down, like confidence in yourself and like growth. And yeah.
Oh yeah, I definitely feel you when you said like confidence and have like you're basing your self-worth on a salary, which is not accurate really. Like it's so insane. Like I'm not going to get into the whole salary thing. I think that's a whole other topic, but like, did you ever experience imposter syndrome? Because I certainly did.
Yeah, 100%. I struggled with like doubting myself and how I see myself and how like people see me. It was just a massive like ball of just like lack of confidence. And yeah, imposter syndrome is like the worst thing. And I feel like I'm so glad though we live in an age where it's brought up and we speak about it more, because so many people go through it. Like you see people who are like, I don't know, people that we see and respect and think like, oh, they've got it all. Like they make so much money and they're like amazing at what they do. Like you see all these sportsmen and like artists and performers, and you'd never think that they deal with that. But something that is encouraging to know is that like we all go through it. So that gives me that reassurance to be like, oh, wow, I'm also like, it makes sense. Like I don't know, I'm doing the right thing, if that makes sense. Because I think a lot of times when you do have imposter syndrome, it's like, is what I'm doing right? But it's encouraging to know that I'm on the right track, if that makes sense. So
yeah, absolutely. I think that was actually one of the reasons like that kind of just got me out of the job a little bit, because I know they're probably going to be listening to this podcast, so it's a little bit awkward. But like, it is just one of the reasons, because like we were a small agency when I first joined, and then we started growing and growing, which is a great sign. But like it also means that we were getting more and more clients, and more and more clients equals more money, but equals also more work. And we didn't have enough people on the floor like myself that would deliver all of that work. And I felt like I was overworking. I was working overtime, like during weekdays, and we don't get paid for our overtime. So that's kind of just like, well, I have to manage my own time. But it's a little bit difficult if a client is asking for a specific deliverable on a specific day. So you're just like, I can't negotiate any other way other than just sacrificing my time just to deliver this. So it was like a lot of like overworking and somewhat feeling underappreciated a little bit, because we're doing all of this work, and then I've never been given a promotion, or I've never gone anywhere further than that. And maybe because like we're such a small business, we don't know where else we could go. So it was kind of like uncertainty and a little bit like, what am I working towards exactly, So I definitely felt imposter syndrome as well. Even though I was there for like 3 years, I still feel like, am I doing this right? I'm just like obsessing over the smallest little details, which probably doesn't even matter later on. But like, because I worked in such an environment where attention to detail is so important, I can't let small things slip, and then hence me having to like work longer hours just so I can make it perfect. So in the end, I was just like, you know what? I'll never be perfect. I can't have people telling me like, oh, this will be absolutely perfect one day, and you'll get better and better each time, which I agree, you will get better and better each time, but I'm just going to let go of the word perfection, because that does not exist. And so yeah, obviously they don't like hearing that. They was like, we want us to be as client ready as possible. And I'm like, that's great. I can try and get it as client ready as possible, but please know I am not perfect, which means that my work is not always going to be perfect as well. So, I mean, you can't bring 100% of yourself every single day. That takes so much of your energy, and it drains you out, and like, you don't come into work as happy as you used to be. So I'm just like, I don't know if I can do this to myself for another few more years, because that's too much for me.
No, absolutely. I love what you said, like, because we actually we can't be perfect. It's almost like just like not wise of us to try and be perfect all the time. And even to maybe what your like company, kind of that outlook of like, it needs to be client ready. Like, what I've noticed is that when you're transparent and vulnerable, like, people are so much more receptive. They're able to like then bring their fullest self, because they're like, if Belinda can be open and honest and transparent, or if this company can be open and honest, like, why can't, like, I definitely can. I can bring that. And it helps so many people to just be honest and vulnerable and transparent. So
yeah, I 100% agree with that. Like, I'm hoping like this podcast will actually help someone out there, whether they're in my same business as me or they're somewhere else. Like, hopefully this will encourage them to just be honest with themselves, because your life is actually quite short, and it's not worth, sacrificing your mental health for this. So yeah, I'm hoping you'll reach out to someone somewhat used to be in the same position as us. So my next question is, like, when did you first start to realize like, oh, I'm going through anxiety, or I'm going through stress, I'm overworking, I'm burning out? Like, was there a point where you're just like, oh God, like, I'm feeling like this. Is this normal? Am I supposed to feel like this? Because this is how work has been told me I should be feeling. Because obviously when we first started, I was so excited. And then at one point you're just like, oh, I'm not as excited anymore. So what was that moment for you?
Wow. It was so many moments in one. I remember just pretty much every week I was at that job, I had some form of like mental breakdown. I was crying like every week. I lacked so much like drive. Like, I was looking at life, and I'm very much like an extroverted, like, I'm very much like cup half full kind of person. Like, I see the positive and joy in everything. And I realized that I was changing, like my personality was changing. I was like just more miserable. I was snapping at people easily. I was more irritable. There was even one morning or one evening where I just like shot up out of bed. Like I got up out of bed so quickly and I just was like hyperventilating. Like I just was struggling to breathe. And that was probably the moment where I was like, yeah, this is not it. This is not like what it's all cracked up to be. And yeah, thank God it was a contract where I was able to see the end like goal. But yeah, several times, like one after the other, it was like another reason why I should leave, like another reason why this is not healthy. Like, yes, the pay was amazing. It was great. I was getting paid every week. It was a joy to have money, but like it was not worth it at all. And yeah, and even as well, like people's opinions as well. If it wasn't a contract job, I probably would have stayed a bit longer because of the opinions of people and what they had about the job. So when I remember posting about this job opportunity that I got, on Facebook, you can write like, oh, Patricia started this new job and whatever. And like, if I look at my Facebook now, I would see like, there's literally hundreds, I think over 200 people like that post. So many people commented that I haven't spoken to in like 6 years. And it's like, why now all of a sudden I matter because I'm doing a job like this? I saw that and I saw that post and was thinking to myself like, like this is a job that is literally giving me like anxiety, stress. And it's something that people are loving. But in deep down inside, I was struggling. It was like the worst thing. And it just reminded me in that moment, like, I'm not meant to put my validation or like why I need to stay in something because of other people, because people's opinions shift like that. Like people change their opinions, and it's so easy as well to see something as if like something physical, like comments and likes to like affect you, but it really is not as sustainable as we all think. Like it's really just like, it's something that is fleeting. And man, it was a lot. It was a tough time, but yeah.
Such a good point with that, because like, I think so many people are in that position where, they're working for like a really good company or a really good agency, like they're earning really well and like people are praising them, but behind closed doors, they are so unhappy. And I feel like a lot of people, from what I found out, a lot of people feel like that. And I think that's the reason why some people choose to stay at the job they're unhappy about, because they're getting that external validation, even though they're sacrificing what's really making them like unhappy, or like they're not doing what really makes them happy. So it's like, it's so weird because people react differently when they are, receiving a bit of money to sustain themselves, but then they're also just sacrificing themselves. It's just a really, really difficult situation to be in. And it's just, we can't, people who are not in that business or what in that position, they can't just say, oh, it's, why don't you just leave? There's just so many factors to it. And also the people who are not, working at home, they are living by themselves. So they have to pay rent, they have to pay food, they have responsibilities where it takes more of a priority than themselves, which sounds really sad, but like, it is so true what you said. Like it's sometimes people really do stay just for the title and for the money. And everyone's different. For me, that's not enough. Just having money coming in and, having that title and working for like a really good, reputable company is not enough for me. I think that to me, that's just a bonus. And I think for you, it's the same as well. It's just a bonus, nothing that you would really want to really rely your whole life on. What do you think of people who kind of like base who they are on their job title, even though they're so unhappy? Like, yeah, what do you think of that?
That's a good question. It's really hard because I feel like everyone has like whatever reason to like, for example, so like if maybe you've been in school where like, or let's say you're the type of student in school where like all your grades mattered and like you were maybe the smartest one in your class, and you always had that validation through like grades and things to always like, be like, oh, I'm an A-star student, like I'm going to continue to do this, I'm going to, this is where my validation comes. And so if like all the rest of your life is someone telling you like, oh my gosh, you're so smart, like, oh, you're going to get this job and then it's going to be this, and then if the like how do I explain it, the like response from people is like aligned with how maybe you've grown up and how your thought process is as you're growing up, it's gonna really like affect how you move and how you work and how you like do life. And so yeah, I feel like everyone's like process in kind of in that is different. And yeah, it's really difficult. And yeah, even with me, like being a creative, I've always been a creative. And so to kind of step out of creativity and TV, like it's hard because yeah, you're so like, if you've been told time and time and time again that this is your lane, that you should stay here, and like this is what you're good at, so you should always do this, like of course it's gonna be beneficial. And like because people are saying it, we wanna hear good things. Like I'm definitely a words of affirmation type of person, that like if someone's telling me over and over again like, oh, you're amazing at TV, I'm like, oh, I want to do TV now. Like it feels like that's what the validation is, but it really is not, like because people's opinions change. And it shook me. I think that's where another reason why I wanted to go into my business, because I was like, people's opinions of me are going to change regardless of what I think. Like there are people that are on my team who started the business and they were terrified because of people's opinions, and they would reach out to friends that like they would reach out to friends that they maybe thought like were judging them or, you know, look down on them and stuff. And for the type of business that they were doing. But then over time, because that person was just still like, you know, connecting with people, or maybe just still promoting her business in whatever way, that person then came around and thought, you know what, at the start, I was like, I thought this about what you were doing, but now I feel this. And like, I always just try and encourage myself, like whenever I see situations like that, where like people then come around, like it kind of makes it worthwhile, but also like encourages you to know that like people can change, like people can change their opinions and their thoughts. Like it's, yeah.
Okay, so I want to go back to when you said that you woke up in the middle of the night and you're hyperventilating and stuff, and now's the moment that you realize this is not it for me. After that, how did you deal with going into work and dealing with stress and anxiety and all of that all the time? Was there like a little trick that you did to help you keep going throughout the day, or what did you do?
I think what helped me was speaking to people about it, and also speaking to people about it. Although I know I said at the start of the podcast that like I didn't like the people I was working with, there were a select few people that I would actually reach out to and be like, hey, I'm having a panic attack right now. Like could you help me? Can you I need to step outside or something like that. So that was really helpful to me, because I've always been the person that I'm like, I'm going to deal with everything on my own. I don't need anyone. I'm independent. But like, I don't know what would have happened to me if I stayed in that position of like not reaching out to people and not speaking to people. So that's basically what I did. I spoke to people. I just like, I know everyone has their own like way, like whether it's meditating or whatever, but I pray. Like praying is such a like important thing in my life. And so I just was really like, just being like, okay, help me, Lord. I need help. I need strength. But yeah, those are the two main things. And also I did take time off. So, actually one of the bosses I had was just like, he's amazing. He actually was like, you need to go to the GP and speak to them about what, you know, where you're at. Cause I was actually having like, I think heart palpitations at some point. It was just a bad time. I was stressed out. And he also was like, he even said, I remember on the way back home one time, I was saying like, hey, like, I don't think I'd be able to come into work tomorrow because my chest is like hurting. And he was like, yeah, make sure you see the GP and stuff like that. And then he also was like, your health is more important than this job. And that was like something where I was like, okay, as much as I've hated this job, like that has been the kind of breakthrough that I've needed, and the kind of confirmation that I've needed to know, like, okay, this is not worth it. And what I actually learned about that boss was that year he actually suffered, I think, a couple like heart attacks or something because of stress, because of just the unnecessary stress and the being weighed down and being burnt out. And like, yeah, so that for me was like a turning point, because I was like, I'm only 26. I don't need to go through a heart attack. I don't need to go through things that are like don't make sense for my age or where I'm at. So yeah, those are I think the two things for sure.
God, I can't imagine a heart attack at 26.
No.
It's not like you had like, you know, like, I don't know, it's not like it had a terminal illness or anything that caused it. It's literally mental. Like, it's just mental health.
100%.
Brain. Oh my God. Okay. So have you only had like one manager to go to, like that was a person that was managing you and that was the only manager you had, and thankfully you had a really good manager? Did you experience like any other where you're just like, don't like you, don't get along with you?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, there was kind of some people that I didn't really vibe with, and it was unfortunate because that was the person I expected the most to like support me, but I didn't feel as loved and supported. And I think even with me saying that, I know I could have like dealt with the situation, had a conversation with them instead of just kind of bottling it in, or like, because things would be said, like kind of things that I would just be like, wait, was that meant to be like kind of a dig or something? But I never dealt with it. And I think I should have for sure been like, hey, like what you said to me was not on. I didn't really like it, whatever. But yeah, that was one manager. And this person actually ended up leaving for some time for like this. We had some recordings abroad, and this person had to leave like literally for weeks. This person was gone. And I was like, how is it now that because she's left, like I now feel like a bit more at ease? Like everyone was a bit more at ease when she left. And I don't want to say that to come across as like mean and stuff, but it just, energy is so like contagious. It's so transferable. If there's someone in your office or your space or whatever, like your circle that is just bringing you down in some way, like you need to have a word with them, have a conversation with them, learn from what I didn't do and talk to them and confront and maybe even learn about maybe why they are that way. But yeah, that was her. And then the guy that was talking to me about like, you know, work is, your health is more important. He was like the head of department. So I was not expecting that from the head of department. He was the sweetest, kindest person. I remember when I wanted to leave several times, he finally came back because he had like obviously medical stuff. He came back and the first Zoom meeting he had was like so encouraging. I remember leaving the Zoom meeting feeling like, oh, I feel like I can do this job. Like I felt very like able, but then obviously because of the nature of the job, it was definitely, that ended after a few hours. But yeah, there was hope for sure from like the head of department. He was incredible.
Oh, okay, wow. Okay, that's really good to know that like head of department was, you know, lovely, and thankfully I feel like you go to him because that's so important. For me, I felt like for the 3 years that I've worked at my agency, I've had 4 different managers.
Wow.
I wouldn't say, I don't want to say passed around because that sounds like really, really weird. Yeah. I basically have adapted to like 4 different managers, and they are absolutely amazing in their own way. They're great. They're all women. So they're all like tough women who worked like,
love that.
I know, I loved it as well. I was just like, yes, that's what I want to be.
Yeah.
They're all lovely, and they all have different strengths, and they have weaknesses as well, just like everybody else. But I've learned so much from them and learned how to adapt myself to different people. And I get to choose like what kind of manager or the woman I want to be when I'm at their age, because they're all like, you know, 30s or 40s, to have kids, they're married and stuff. And having to like learn about life from them is always like really refreshing, and it's always nice to get advice from people who are more, you know, experienced than you. So I had like my first manager, she's very detailed oriented. She's very meticulous. She's you know, the one that I'm always like overthinking my work because I know she's going to look at it. And she kind of like forced me to be more detailed oriented. And I guess like, helped me to be more organized in the way I am now, because she's very organized herself. The second manager I had, she was kind of like head of our function as well. She was like creative, and she was very much into like personal development as well as like building your professionalism and like, you know, being there and making sure that you're okay. She's still a tough woman. She has like 2 different sides to her. So she's very great personally to me, and she's great. She knows exactly what she's doing, and she's creative herself. So she has great qualities around her, and she sets very tough boundaries. Like she knows what she wants and what she doesn't. The third one, who actually came in temporarily, and she's very empathetic. She's also very much into like coaching and mentoring, and she spent so much time doing that. But unfortunately, she wasn't able to like focus on the actual delivering the task, which is what we really prioritize at the agency then. And then she ended up, leaving a month after her probation, like training and stuff. So I didn't have a manager after she left. So I had another manager who was already working in the business. She was there like ever since like I started, and she wasn't like my main manager, but because we were so like lacking resources, my CEO asked her, can you just step in and just help Belinda to run this kind of like this team in a way and lead this team. And she didn't know how to run it because she wasn't part of our department for a long time, so she was kind of like leaning on me a lot. I mean, all the managers were pretty much leaning on me, which also drained me out as well. And then she's like, I'm leaning on you because I think you've been in the department for so long and you know it inside out, you know the products, you know the clients, blah blah blah. Like I'm gonna be leaning on you a lot and asking you to help me. So I kind of felt like there was a responsibility on my shoulders that I have to show up for. I feel like if it doesn't fall onto me, who will it fall on? And keep in mind, like my team is quite a small team. Like we're very low on full-time people and we just have freelancers, but they're only in like 2 or 3 days a week. And they're not as involved in the clients as full-time people like myself are. So it was definitely a very sticky situation and a difficult situation for me to having to like show up for the team when I felt like I was the only one bringing it to the table. I also had another colleague who was in my team who's also full-time, but she's only like 50% my team and 50% another team. So she's already packed like herself. So, but we were the only two people that were like really pushing it through. And my new manager at the time, like she was really trying her best. And I would say like she was amazing as a manager. For someone who doesn't know our department that well, she was willing to like, help us deliver the work, good quality. And she trusted me. Like she didn't see me as someone like, okay, you do this and go do that. Like do as I say. She was more like, okay, this is the problem that we have. How do we solve it? Like how should we do it? Like, should I deal with this and you deal with that and I'll let you run with it kind of thing. Like she trusted me, which is what I love. And I think trust between trust between a manager and like, the specialists is really important because at the same time, like specialists are the ones who are working very closely with the products. So they need to feel confident in doing the products as well as the manager trusting them with the products. So I feel like you're so right with the whole energy thing. Like if you feel, so drained when a manager is there, it's not a good sign. But if you feel so empowered when a manager is there, that's a very good sign. So I think that's a true statement when people say like 50% of employees leave because of bad managers or stay because of good managers. So would you say like if you had, let's say like if you were still at that TV production company and you had all amazing, great managers, but the work is still like so much, would you have still stayed? Or do you feel like what was more important to you, great managers or like great work and shitty managers?
I think that's a hard question because I would have loved it if it was like it would have been great if it was like perfect in a way. Like if the managers were all great and then the work was bad, that would have been hard. I think I still would have been like umming and ahhing about like, should I be here? Should I not? Because I am someone who like craves energy of people and like I want to connect with people. I want to be everyone's best friend. So like wanting to have people that are like lovely as well in my kind of, and I get to see them every day. Like it would have been so lovely, but it just wasn't it because and again it wasn't actually just like the people I was working with, but I just also felt like I'm not meant to be here. So it was a mixture of that. But if it was the other way round, the work was great and the man, there's no, I wanted to stick around because it would have made me, if the managers were like terrible and the work was great, it would have made me even doubt what I love. Like if I was doing something that I loved, I was around people that hated it or just was like, were mean, I would have been like, do I even want to do this anymore? Like, I for sure it would have like completely changed my perspective and it would have made me fall out of love of TV. So
that's the worst part when you really love something and then you get into it and then you realize it's not what it's cracked up to be. You're kind of just and you just feel so defeated and you're just like, what do I do now? Because what I loved the entire time. I didn't love anything else. So what do I do? So you're just like kind of, you're so like lost in a way, and you're just like, you're trying to push yourself to find something else to love so you can hop onto something else. But it's just so difficult when you feel drained and tired to even think about doing something else. It's such a really weird time to be in. So
exactly.
I was wondering, like, I know you're working TV, so I'm assuming you were going to the studio every single day and stuff, but at any point in your career, did you ever like work from home, or did you ask if you could work from home, like doing paperwork and stuff and all of that?
Oh, so with the business the company I was working for, that production company, there were days where I worked from home. So I came in, my role was to take over like not take over, what am I trying to say? My role was to help people with like paperwork in the weekend. So I was working from home Saturday and Sunday. And so, that was pretty much my time that I worked from home. And it was great to work from home. That was probably one of my favorite parts of the job, because I was technically only in like 3 days a week, like going in. So it was definitely good, but it was also hard because I was, and this is how it also worked, because it was a small team, I was the only one working from home and everyone else was having their own weekends and like enjoying their weekends. So I would, if I'm struggling with something, I'm like, hey, can you help me with this? And it's like, because they're out, or they're, I don't know, gone to Scotland or something, or gone to like have a good weekend, they'd be getting back to me like 3-4 hours later. And it's like, it was just hard to communicate with people. And I think, to be honest, I feel like I grew a lot in communication in that period of working from home when everyone else is enjoying themselves, because it was like, I had to get the work done. And those are the only times I worked from home.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I think that's just proved that hybrid working does work. Like, you need a bit of working from like the production or like the office, and then half of it doing it from home. I don't think doing 100% of something is not going to work in this day and age.
Exactly.
Technology. For me, like, I worked 100% from home during the pandemic for 2 years. Yeah, for 2 years. Wow. I was stuck at home.
I can't believe the pandemic is 2 years ago. Like, what?
I don't know.
Anyway.
Just so insane when I think about it. Like, wow, Crazy. I've been working in this room for 2 years, like doing everything. Like, it's so insane. At first, like I'll tell you how it goes when like working 100% from home. Like, it was so exciting at the beginning because like yes, I'm working from home. I have my own, you have
your fridge, like walking distance. You can go to the toilet whenever you want.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just like, I don't have to think about like, the tube being so packed going into the office. I don't have to feel so tired all the time. It's like, it was absolutely amazing the first few weeks. And then as months go by, it kind of just started to not get as amazing as it used to be. You kind of just start to like, everything just happened to be the same. It was great to stick to a routine, because that's what like, with working from home, you kind of have to have a routine, and you can just like plan your life outside of it. But it just got so mono and so like the same every single day, up to a point where like, this isn't as exciting as it used to be. And you have to find a way to like switch it up a little bit, but not
exciting, to make it exciting.
Yeah. And like I'll pretty much just stuck to your desk for the whole 8 hours or 7.5 hours per day. And like, it's very like a lot of pressure of work and so much thinking, and you're drained by the end of the day. It got so much, and to a point where you can't really do other things that you love. So that I wasn't able to like work on my YouTube stuff or like any of my podcasts that I'm doing now, because what I love doing is already on a computer, which I already work 24 hours doing. So it's just kind of like, I don't even get a break. So it was just like, I just had to take a break from content creation for a bit, which kind of hurts me a bit, because I love being my creative self and talking to people like you, and just like getting that energy and just being really excited and happy about life again, which I wasn't getting. So I had to make a hard for it. But it was just so much like working from home. And then only recently we were just like, okay, we'll slowly come to the office like 3 times a week, and the rest of the days you work from home, which is good. I think that's a good balance. But just some companies out there that I know just want their, employees to come back 100% office, which really doesn't work.
Wow. I was even listening to a podcast where by a guy called Bob Haig, I think. Helig, and he was talking about how like before the pandemic it was like 1 in 67 people worked from home,
Yeah.
But because of the pandemic and because of the last 2 years, it's 1 in 6. 1 in 6 people work from home. And it blows your mind, the fact that like we're all pretty much working from home. A lot of us are. And there's so much beauty in it. I feel like companies figured out that like the business didn't go bankrupt because everyone is now working from home. Like things were just managed. Like you were still able to, businesses were still thriving. And obviously there were probably a lot that weren't, but like businesses, a lot of them were, like everything was still afloat. Like, So it's just all interesting.
It is. I think like the whole pandemic really did just changed a lot of people's lives, like especially people with like who have families with kids. And, if you're going to the office like from Monday to Friday at a certain time, they're worrying about their kids. Like, oh, I need to go back home to go pick up my kid at nursery, or like, oh, sorry, my kid is crying. Like I need to go breastfeed her or something. I don't know. Like working from home it really does help for a lot of people, and it can be, it brings its own challenges, but it also helps fix some other issues as well that like they weren't able to, sort out before. So yeah, I think working from home, hybrid work is here to stay. And we've proven that it really works. I think 100% of anything is not good.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's so true. That's so true.
Okay, so back to your TV production job, like, working with colleagues and stuff, and you had some good managers and some bad managers. What about your colleagues? Were there any colleagues that you really got along with, some of them you did not get along with and you just did not vibe with? Or were there any like colleagues that felt the exact same way as you, where they felt so overworked and so underappreciated and they just feel like they're about to break, they're on their last leg?
Wow. Yes, all of that. Basically everything he said. I had an amazing colleague who would actually give me like lifts back home, because we actually lived quite closely to each other. And because the journey, if I didn't get a ride with him, it would have been like 2 hours. It would have taken me 2 hours to get to work. But driving with him, it was like 40 minutes or something. And during that journey and just through talking and stuff, we both were on the same page of a lot of things, like with that specific manager and the manager who like left to do to like travel for a little bit, to be on set in another country. We felt the same way. We noticed how draining it was. We just noticed how like this is not where we want to be. And obviously that can like be a blessing and a curse, because if you're around someone who feels the same way as you sometimes, and it's like you both want to leave, or you both, have an issue, it could do more harm than good. But at the same time, I felt seen, I felt heard, I felt like, oh, I'm not alone in this. Like, I'm not the only one who has this like thick like thought about this person or the situation. There were also colleagues that were super helpful. Like, although like the industry is very like practical. I did use a lot of like Excel, and I've never used Excel before. Even though my CV would say I knew basic skill levels of Excel, it was a lie. But there was a colleague that I had who was super helpful. Like, she was so like understanding at the fact that like I didn't know what was going on and I had to log things in. I had to use spreadsheets and stuff. But yeah, it was nice to know like it was nice to know that I had people that were supportive and helpful. And even leaving the job, I wrote actually everyone cards, because I just was like, everyone here has made such an impact in my life, and I've been so thankful for them. And even though I had bad experiences, like everyone was so sweet, and like a lot of people were so sweet. And I just was like, I should really want to like show them how much they've meant to me, even if it's just a small like minuscule piece of what they've done. Like, they've been encouraging and helpful in some way.
Yeah. So, when you first joined your job, did they not give you like an introduction week, or where things are and like how to do things? Like, did you get that at least? Like, if you didn't, that's a very big problem.
Yeah. What's so funny, I did get a bit of a tour of the studios and things, and it was like insane, because there was a lot of shows that I would grow up watching, or films that I would grow up watching that were filmed and recorded there. And I'm like, I would just always pinch myself and be like, God, I'm so thankful for this. But actually, and this might be, I don't know, outing them a little bit, but I was meant to do like an online introduction that never happened. But everyone else, it happened for them. But I think because when I first started the job, the first few weeks, my schedule, I was still working at another job, and I was trying to like figure out a balance. And because my days were off or like random, it kind of affected them as well. So it wasn't technically all their fault. It just so happened that like it was never the right time. Like they needed to do the induction, for example, like every Friday. And there was a few Fridays where I wasn't at that job or I wasn't working. And so, yeah, it was tough, but yeah, I didn't actually get an induction, but I still figured it out. I still made it, but
yeah, you came out even stronger, and obviously
I did.
Skills.
Exactly. I learned something.
Was it like very intense? Because my induction was very intense when I first joined.
Really?
It was like day and day, a whole week of training of like learning how, understanding the products and doing the products and spending hours like perfecting it and stuff like that. And like, yeah, it was an intense training, like induction week. So working at like a small agency, like you have to be able to work on and that's one of them. And I think TV is the same, because
it's just you would think, I would have thought that like a business like yours, a small business, would have had like an easy, simple like introduction. But wow, I guess I don't know, I guess when something's like more of like a well-oiled machine, like inductions and stuff like that are just easy and quick. But I guess being in a company that was like was it a startup or like a small business or something?
Well, when I first joined, it was a startup. We had like very few people, like less than 10 employees, basically.
Right.
Yeah, and then now, like grown to 3 years later now, like we've got like an office in India, and then we got an office in New York. So we've really, really grown. I think we have an office we just opened in like in Netherlands as well. So we're growing.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so it's doing really well. But behind, like with the specialists who are actually doing the work, like we are dying inside.
Yeah.
It's literally like from the outside, it's amazing. And maybe like it is doing really amazing. But for employees like myself, like we are suffering behind closed doors. Yeah, it's a lot. But yeah, with induction, is like my induction was really tough, and it was like a really tough training and stuff. And I thought it would be like a really nice, easy, smooth ride in, but it really is not. And that's when I realized, like, if you're going to work for like a small company, expect to wear so many hats, because they are low resources, and they will expect you to pick up other people's work, unfortunately. Whereas if it's going to be like a huge company, there's loads of people to delegate work. It'll be so much easier in the induction. So ever since then, I've learned small equals more stress, big equals stress.
We're stressed regardless. Oh my gosh, that's wow. Yeah, thinking about it, my induction was probably only a few hours, even that. Like, but I think because of the fact that it was a short contract, there was no point for them to like have like a long-winded kind of introduction when I was just like using Excel. And I was also learning on the job as well, which was something I didn't realize. But yeah.
Were you asked to like do other jobs, even though it's not in your job description? Because I definitely have been spreading myself out to do other jobs that is not really my responsibility, but I know that no one else would do it unless I do it.
Yeah. I think there was a few things, actually. To be honest, I think it wasn't that bad. Like, I wasn't doing a lot of other people's jobs, but because I was working on the weekends, I would sometimes have to like pick up. Yeah, to be honest, actually, I was doing other people's jobs sometimes because I was working on the weekends, and if certain projects weren't completed, it was like, oh, Pat, you can do it because you're working on the weekend. So I did have to pick up a lot of slack from other people, and yeah, it was tough, but yeah, I guess it kind of. I hate to say it, but it is what it is sometimes, because that's the kind of nature of like businesses or small groups or whatever. But yeah,
I totally feel you. I mean, for me, like the work that I had to pick up I wouldn't say it's other people's slack or like other people's work. It's kind of like the admin-y work that I would need to do, because apparently in their eyes I have time. So I was just like doing all of my content work, like the things that I'm actually described to do in my job description. But then in no way did my job description say that I'll be running our social media accounts, like all of them, and doing our YouTube channels and optimizing those. And then like there was I was helping with HR onboarding new people. So like planning their induction, even though I'm not HR, but I did it to help out anyways. And then like helping out with like some other simple tech IT support as well, like helping people sort out their Gmails and like doing this Gmail signatures and all of that. And I'm just like, I mean, I'm happy to help, but like, I really do hope that we grow like an IT support team so then they can take over that. Cause I think a lot of times they just come to me and just like, oh, you know, you're more technical than I am, which is true. Like younger people are more technical than older people, but I wouldn't say that I'm, you know, an expert of Gmail or like G Suite. If anything, I'll probably just go to Google and ask Google how to fix it. So a lot of the times it was just like I was picking up other work that like I feel like I shouldn't really have to do, which is not, I mean, it's not a big deal for me to do. I think I'll be happy to do it every now and then, but I don't want to be the main person you go to for those sort of things, because it's not what I really do.
And it shows that you want to help people and you have that like servant heart where you're like, okay, I just want to help these people. And also even them saying like, oh, you're more like tech savvy than me and things like that. It's like, that kind of goes back to what we were saying before, where it's like, if you're being told you're good at something, it's like, oh, like I know I can do this because so-and-so's told me. And I don't know, like it's almost like a backhanded compliment, because it's like, I can't be bothered to do this, or I don't want to do this, so you need to do it right now. But yeah.
Oh yeah, that just takes me back. Okay, so with the whole pandemic and stuff, like, you know, there's so many reasons why people leave. Like maybe they're unfulfilled, they're not happy with their managers, or like they're getting underpaid or whatever it is. Do you feel like the pandemic has really pushed it to the core now? Because now they're like, people are, some of the people are made redundant. Some of them are forced to work from home, like they have to. You know, with all that extra time that they have working from home, or the pandemic making them redundant, they had that time to reflect and just think, you know what, work is not the most important thing in my life. And they had like some sort of realization, like, okay, I want to change my job. Okay, I want to change this, change that. And it's like really changed the whole workforce. Do you feel like the pandemic might be one of the reasons why people leave? Or do you think that's just like a minor reason, like kind of just resurface what was already there?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, 100%. I think what I noticed is that a lot of people, the beauty, I guess, of the pandemic, although it was so traumatic and so devastating for a lot of people, the beauty of it was that everyone was on the same playing field. Like everyone was able to now like reflect on their life and figure out like, was what I was doing. What is that? Am I even saying my words? with what I was doing before, like, is that something that is like sustainable, or like something that I love? And it was so interesting. Like, and I was actually living in America when the first pandemic hit, and I was doing an internship of like a videography internship. And I just was noticing like the person I was living with, she quit her job like before because of health reasons, way before the pandemic happened. And the pandemic hit, and it was almost like she did this like it was almost like she did it in existence. Like she spoke it into existence, the fact that she quit her job because she was like not feeling fulfilled. And now this girl is like, she's got an amazing like social media company or content company where she's able to help people with social media content. And she probably wouldn't have been able to do that if she didn't take that step away for herself and think of her mental health. But yeah, I feel like there's so many things I want to say, but I feel like my brain is like all over the place. But yeah, I think the pandemic definitely opened a lot of people's minds up, like, and opened a lot of people's minds to think like, okay, actually, maybe I can focus on what I love. I've got a friend who was a teacher, who is still a teacher, but the pandemic made her focus on her bakery business, and she started making cupcakes and stuff for events. And other people were maybe doing just a 9-to-5 normal job, and now they're wanting to start like interior design businesses. And it's like, it's just the pandemic, like I said, although it was such a devastating thing, this is something my mum always says, every disappointment is a blessing. So the fact that like the disappointment of the pandemic hitting was an opportunity for people to step into like where their purpose is and where their like what their calling is. And so yeah, it was amazing. I think more than anything, hard, but very beneficial, I think.
Yeah. So I want to talk about your business that you mentioned at
yeah, girl.
This podcast. So how did you start this business? Tell me like the origin story of this business. Like, did you start it while you were working at HBO, so you have something to hop on, or did you do this right after HBO and you thought about it? Like, tell me the whole origin story of this business.
Yeah. So basically, this all started at the end of 2020, actually, when I was still in America. I finished my internship and I was trying to figure out what I was going to do next. And I didn't really know what I was going to do. And I was just like, God, help me. I don't know what like my next steps are. And this opportunity came to me. And I was very hesitant because this job is very much like, it's a direct sales type of company. So you're basically like promoting products and helping people connect with, you know, products and things that they want to use and stuff. And that industry is very like, a lot of people feel skeptical about the business because a lot of people, you know, how do I explain it? Like, have bad experiences. I also was one of them. Like, when I kind of saw this opportunity, I was like, no, I'm not going to do it, because like my parents were like completely scammed into another business that kind of reminded me of it. And I was, very, very, very hesitant to it. But I just kept leaning into peace. Like, I think that was one thing I just kept wanting to do. I wanted to follow peace. I wanted to follow somewhere that I felt, you know, joyful to be in, instead of like, like following, you know, being uneasy and feeling like uncertainty, if that makes sense. And so, it basically started at the end of 2020. It's just to reiterate, it's actually, it's a luxury hair care, skincare company. And you're basically using social media and like promoting through different ways, whether it's like word of mouth. And so, it started then. I said like, I was sitting on the idea of it for about a month. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. One thing after another just kept like kind of confirming to me that this is what I should be doing. Whether it's like, oh, I need this money to do this, or to put, you know, to invest in this part of the business. And then, I then started it. And then I felt really discouraged after a few months, not because of the business, but just because of where I was mentally. And I quit for a little bit. I moved back home, back to London. And then I was kind of just searching for other things that I wanted. I was like, I'm going to work in TV again. Because like up until that point, I hadn't worked in TV for about a year. And so I was like, I'm going to go back into TV. Like, it's going to be fun. And as I was working in, you know, the industry again, I was like, I don't feel like this is what I'm meant to be doing. But I kept avoiding this thought of this business again, because I was like, I'm in London. Like, I'm not in some random country where I have nothing to do. Like, I have a CV, I have experience, I have connections, I can like get jobs that I can get jobs through, and just all these different things. And it hit me actually at the start of that job, the job I like left. I basically realized that I was like, wait, I think that business was the best thing for me, because there was actually a night where I was thinking to myself, okay, what are the dream things I want? What are the ideal things I want in a job? And one of the things was like, I want a job that has flexibility. I want to be able to have a job where I'm able to see my friends and my family and connect with my friends again. Or like, I want a job where I'm able to have my own schedule, where I'm my own boss. I want to have a job where I get to be creative and I get to, you know, make videos and do content and things like that. And I was just like, I wish there was a job like that. And then the thought of that job came up again, but I was like, no, I don't want to do it. So for a good 5-6 months, I was so hesitant, because it wasn't like I was starting afresh, like I'm this new person that's doing this for the first time, but I had experience with it. So it took even longer because I was even more scared. I was so prideful, or like even of how people saw me and the image I had, because, you know, I feel like as people sometimes in this day and age, we're very protective of our image, of how people see us, of our brand, if you want to say that as well, because we're just scared and we're worried of how people are going to see us. But I just knew like this was the best thing for me. And it's more than just like promoting products and connecting with people. But the biggest thing for me of wanting to do this is like growing in confidence. So, and because that was my why, I actually made like a list of my whys, why you want to do something. And the top thing was like, growing in confidence and also being freed from the opinions of people. So I think because I made those decisions to like use those as my aim, those things as my aims, it made it more fulfilling, because I'm like, I'm not just trying to get a job so I can get paid and have more money, but it's like I'm in a job where I get to grow in my self-confidence and like personal development. But at the same time, you're helping people and you're speaking to people and you're connecting with people. Like I said, like I want to be everyone's best friend. So like to be able to like be in an industry where like I get to talk to people every day and I get to catch up, and like if they're maybe not interested in the products, then I can still have a relationship with them. It doesn't have to be tied down to what I do. So yeah, it's honestly the best thing for me at this moment. Do it even though you're scared and you're terrified, and even if it doesn't make sense, because there's so much value in that, and taking a step of faith and believing in yourself. So yeah.
Oh, I love that. Did you at any point in your journey of like doing this business, like did you ever like feel, oh, like if this doesn't work out, like what if I don't make any income from this and I spent so many hours?
Yeah.
Like, was there a fear in your mind, like, oh, if I do this 100% and I give it my all and it's not working, like what do I do?
Yeah.
Will I actually get any finance from that? Like, how did you talk yourself into like pushing yourself through to like keep going, even if it's not going to be an overnight success?
Bruh. Honestly, it's something I have to do every single day. Even like this morning, waking up, I have to speak over myself and speak affirmations. And honestly, I feel like when you work hard, and this might be very like, I don't know, naive of me to say, but like when you work hard and you put the work in, you will see fruit. You will see the fruit of that. It's hard though when you're working in like a, self-employed place or somewhere where it's commission based, where you like making sales are like you get paid. There is definitely like I did struggle a lot with like the idea of like, what if I don't make the sale? What if by like, and also my sister's getting married this year and I really want to be there as much as I can to like help like financially. And so even with that, I'm like, what if I don't get to support as much as I can? And I've definitely had doubts, but I know I have to just really encourage myself and speak life over myself instead of speaking this negativity or like, oh, I'm never going to do this. But yeah, I think it's just trying to be confident in myself and speak affirmations. Affirmations is so important. I feel like the world knows now, like it's so important to speak good things over you, and manifest is another word people use. So yeah.
Wow, love that. Like you're so right with the whole like self-employed thing. I would say like I'm starting to consider myself as self-employed now that I'm going to content creation 100%. Did you ever struggle with like creating your own routine and structuring? Because when you had like, a full-time job, like you already have something that's set for the day and then you just need to create your life outside of it. That was for me. It was easy for me because I worked from like Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. And like, I can just, I don't know, go out after work and like to see some friends, like in the weekend, I can enjoy myself. It was very easy to set a routine in my life. But now that I'm self-employed and not working full-time anymore, I'm trying to figure out what would be my structure, what would work with my circadian rhythm. So I'm currently like trying to figure that out right now that I'm self-employed. But how did you deal with it, with coming up with your own routine? Like, did you set a day for yourself, like, okay, this is the day that I work, or this is the day that I take a break, or this is the day this and that? Like, how did you come up with your own routine, I guess?
Yeah. I'm still coming up with a routine. I have been, it's hard, but it's so doable. It is definitely so difficult being self-employed and having to find your own routine because like you said, everything, when you're in a 9 to 5, everything's set for you. You have to wake up at a certain time, get the bus at a certain time and do your life. But yeah, having to like literally bring myself out of bed has been hard because I know I'm just very much like, I can watch Netflix. Literally, if I could watch Netflix for the rest of my life, I will do it. But we all know that's not sustainable in life. And I've really had to shift certain things. And I think a lot of times when we're trying to change ourselves, we try and like have this like massive like shift. Like, I'm not gonna watch Netflix until the end of the week, or like, I'm not gonna do this. But something that taught me something that was so important was actually from a book called Atomic Habits. I feel like it's such a well-known, like, it's an incredible book. It's amazing. Something I learned from that book was like, don't make massive, like huge shifts or changes, but just make a tiny change. So if, for example, I go to bed late, like maybe 1 o'clock, if I'm going to bed at like 1 o'clock in the morning, Like, let me try not to say like, I'm going to now go to bed at 10 or 9. Like, even if it's 30 minutes earlier, like those small changes, something that is doable every single day. And the guy that wrote the book actually had this example where he was, I think, coaching this person who wanted to lose like weight, and he ended up losing like 100 pounds because he stuck to the routine of, he went to the gym for like, literally went to the gym for 2 minutes. So he'd get to the gym, do a workout, probably half a workout, and leave. Not because he was crazy, but just having that consistent routine of doing something every day. It didn't have to be long, but what the thing was just consistency. And so he then eventually, lost a bunch of weight because he was consistent every day and not thinking of like this whole like super complex thing. Because I think where a lot of people struggle to like be disciplined is like they overcomplicate everything. I'm such an overthinker, an analyst. I just analyze every situation, so I overcomplicate everything. And so it definitely is hard, but the thing I'm learning because it's definitely not conquered it at all. I'm still like very much, I have my lazy times sometimes. That's definitely what I've learned though, to just change small things, like do things every day. And I think also remind myself like what I'm going to benefit from, me trying to be disciplined in this like small area. So Atomic Habits is amazing. I'm sure you've read it or like heard of it, or
I've definitely heard of it, and everyone's talking about it. So I definitely want to read that. Like, there's so many I'm obsessed with self-help books. You have no idea. I've ordered like 5 books to read.
I love that.
Yeah, and I've just gotten like so obsessed with self-help books because I'm in that transition where I just want to better for myself, nobody else, just because I'm living my life. And yes, Atomic Habits is one of them. My brother actually has that book, so I might borrow it from him and just read it. But yeah, honestly, that's so refreshing to hear like from you that like you've read it already, and you know that the best way to really change a habit and improve your life is to change a little bit. Like it doesn't have to be a huge complicated thing, because I think I'm the same as you. I would overthink things and I would just overanalyze, and I'd be like, oh, I could do this. I'll put so much more on my plate than I shouldn't really have to, because then that just overwhelms you a little bit. So I'm that type of person who would make a list every single day of what I want to do for that day, and I would feel upset if I didn't, tick off that list of what I was supposed to do. And to me, like that used to be really, it's still very helpful for me, because helps me structure my life, and then gives me something to do, like so I don't feel like I've wasted a day of like napping or what. So I feel like, okay, I'm going to be productive. I need that list, and list really works for me. But obviously I can't do that every single day. There are going to be some days where I need to be lazy, and it's okay to watch Netflix with
you need rest. You
need rest. So I think like that's where I'm struggling with like creating a routine for myself, because I still haven't figured out like how I'm going to structure my days, or what days I'm going to do it, or so I've always been quite an organized, disciplined person, and I believe in consistency as well. So I just need to take on my strengths and see how I can actually make in the life that I want. So it is very difficult, I agree with you, but it's absolutely doable. I think it's going to take us some time though. So I agree with you on that. So with your whole like luxury hair care and skincare business at the moment, do you feel like is there any part of you when you worked at TV, do you feel like you've learned something there that you can apply to your business right now? Do you feel like you've learned some sort of skills and you transferred it into your own thing?
Yeah. Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. I think definitely talking to people is a massive thing. Working with people, talking to people, because the nature of this job that I'm now doing is like very much like reaching out and talking to people, and you may get rejections and things like that. And also that's like the beauty of it, because not the beauty of it, but the similarities of this job and like TV, because I would apply for jobs and like get rejected, and I definitely built a thick skin. Why I feel like words are hard today. I built such a thick skin because I was just like, okay, I applied for 7 jobs in a day, didn't get one any of them, but I just have to keep moving on. Like that is, yeah, for sure. I think building the thick skin or developing the thick skin of, you know, not getting the jobs that I've wanted over the years have definitely been like helpful. At first it's very like discouraging, but it's like, yeah, on to the next one. It wasn't for me. So I'm gonna have to just move on and be happy. So yeah, I would for sure say like not getting jobs, like dealing with rejection, and then also just like helping people and talking to people really. So yeah.
Is there any where like you would miss like working at TV, like you know, like maybe missing colleagues that you really got along with? Is there any part of that TV production job that you had that you will miss that, you know, you're not going to get from your self-employed business?
Oh, that's a good question. This might make me want to go back, but no, what I loved the most was the buzz that you get from like working on TV and like behind the scenes. Just the excitement. I think shows, for example, that I've maybe watched for years, like getting to be a part of that and seeing like how it works and like meeting people and like the hours, and it never really felt like other than the job that I was at that like kind of gave me all that kind of stress and anxiety. Previous jobs before that were very much like, it didn't feel like work. I felt like I was getting paid to watch, I don't know, Ed Sheeran perform, or like getting paid to go to a festival to like work and stuff, and just things like that. It was just, yeah, I think that's what I missed the most, just the excitement of like a live audience and like we're putting on this show, and like, yeah, it was just, I think that's what I missed the most. But yeah, that's the beauty though of like freelance TV, because like I can easily just be like, oh, I've got a day off, I can just work on this job, or like if my friend needs help or needs an assistant, I'm like, I'm available. So thankfully, like I haven't for sure like shut the door to like TV forever, because that's not wise for me to do. But yeah, I think that's what I miss the most.
But I think the thing that I would really most is the same as you, which is the colleagues that I worked with, even though like such a crazy atmosphere of having to constantly work and feel under pressure. I had really amazing colleagues that I can confide in who feels the same way. And like, you know, they're just amazing people to work with, and they're so very dedicated, and like, they're just amazing people. And that's the one thing I'm going to miss so much, is the people and the vibe that I get from them, the energy that I get. Like I got along with my CEO so well. And, you know, with a lot of CEOs, like they're very like away from your employees,
like standoffish. Yeah.
But with him, he's not. Like there was one time when the pandemic was at like its peak. He asked his assistant to schedule 10 minutes with everyone to check in if they're okay, and he gave us like a budget for our mental wellness. So he was like, you can use this money. Yeah, like he was like, you can use this money to buy things on Amazon, anything. Like you can buy a meditation, I don't know, from Calm. Yeah. And he was like, you can buy books about mental wellness. I bought like a yoga mat because I loved yoga at the time.
Yeah.
He was like, you can buy new running shoes so you can like run during your break and stuff. Like he is a really, really good CEO. It's just that unfortunately, like my experience with my actual work wasn't that great. So I had amazing people working with, and I'm just going to miss the whole work colleague, someone to talk to every single day vibe.
Yeah.
That's one thing that I'm going to miss so much. But I'm also staying in contact with them forever. I told them this is not the last time. You'll definitely see me again. It's just that I'm doing my own thing, but I definitely want to keep in contact with all of them, because you definitely make some new friends, and it's so
exactly.
So yeah, 9 to 5 it's not always so bad, but it's
exactly.
You gotta see that
it has its benefits. Yeah, but that's so amazing that like they actually put money aside or had a budget for like mental health, because mental health is so important. Like, and businesses and people are realizing it more, but it really shows the heart of that boss, and like the fact that he really wanted to support. And even during the pandemic for me, like the place I was doing my internship at, like the kind of CEO wanted everyone to go through counseling. So I actually was able to do counseling. They paid like for 4 sessions, I think, for everyone who wanted counseling. So I got to get counseling, and it was incredible. So yeah, things like that are so important, and it really helps the morale of the team and build the culture. So yeah.
100%. So with all of this, I mean, we kind of know what your next steps is to actually build your business, but like, steps in your business? Are you going to create more content? Are you going to put YouTube? Are you going to go on TikTok? Like, what is your next step for your luxury business?
Yeah, so at the moment, I use Instagram. Instagram is definitely like the best thing for me with this business. But other than that, I have been posting stuff on TikTok. My TikTok's more like just fun, whatever I want to do. But I for sure like want to add more like business related stuff. And that's the great thing about the business I'm working. Like, it's not just a business, it's like my lifestyle. So regardless of if I'm trying to talk to people about this product or whatever, like I want to invite people in to realize that, oh, this is how like I get to use these products with this lifestyle or whatever. Or I eventually would love to do YouTube. YouTube is something that's always been on my heart. And it's something that I've wanted. I remember I started a YouTube channel like around 2011, and I stopped making content because I would just like, I think I just gave up. I don't know what happened, but yeah, YouTube is something in this future that I would love. And yeah, just really that. But I think something I've noticed is impactful is actually having conversations with people. It's great to reach out to people that you don't know, or you probably will never meet, and talk about, your products and stuff. But like a lot of times people hide behind the screen or hide behind their phones, and they're able to just text, and there's no like kind of relationship or like that kind of feeling of like connection there. So what I've noticed is that when I've had conversations with maybe friends about the business, like in person, it's just like it breaks that barrier. You're able to open up and share like the reasons why, because the reason I think a lot of people relate to maybe a lot of people that would do this business is the fact that like they had hesitations. They still have a lot of hesitations, but it's like working past that, working through it. And so and realizing as well that we have so much more in common than we do. Like no one is ever going to start a business and be 100% ready. Like I barely was even ready. I was just like, it just makes sense to me right now in this time of my life to do this. People would be lying if they say like they're 100% ready to like go into self-employed like, business or whatever. Like it's not easy, but you just also know that like I'm meant to do this. Like it just feels it's right for me.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So wrapping up this episode, what advice would you give to people who are currently unhappy at their job, and like what are the things that you've learned that you can pass on to someone in that position currently? And like, what we could actually share. Like I'm happy to share mine, but I want to hear your things that you've learned that you can pass on to someone as advice.
I would say speak to someone, reach out to maybe a friend, a family member, your boss, your colleague, someone in HR, just to let them know where you're at and how you feel. I would also say like make a list or make a brainstorm, I would say, of like the dream job you want and the different things that you want and hope from that job. Because I think a lot of time we're very much in our thoughts and in our minds, and we can't see past our issues. And so that's why it's so important to speak out about it, and also like put it on paper, write it down, make it plain, like make it visible, and make it almost like you're kind of like you're aiming. How do I explain it? Sorry, there's a bird outside the window and just threw me off. I was like, what the heck?
Don't worry, I love
this. I don't know if you can hear it.
I heard a little bit.
It's like a parakeet or something. I don't know. But yeah, I would definitely say like speaking to people about it, reaching out, and being bold and being confident in yourself, and knowing like not doubting yourself. I would say. So I think those things, consistency, not doubting yourself, having confidence, and also like affirmations and speaking life over like where you're at.
Yeah, I love that. For me, the advice I would give to someone in that situation, I would do everything that you just said, because they are so practical and they 100% work. Other things, I guess you could say that's going to help them, help the guys listening, that the small things like going out for a walk every single day just to de-stress, journaling every single day, listening to calming music, do yoga, because that's what I did. Maybe read a book a little bit, like just to help you take your mind off of things, and take a lot of tech breaks. Try not to go on your phone as much or watch Netflix in between your breaks, because that's not going to help you switch off. And just like having to talk to someone, even if you feel so afraid to talk to your boss and your managers, talk to a colleague, because maybe 9 times out of 10, they might be going the same thing as you, or, they're always willing to lend a shoulder. So it's so important to have friends in the same position or like understands your situation, because that really, really helps. And also one thing that I've learned from like working in a fast-paced industry is to always set yourself boundaries, know when to say no and know when to say yes. Because if you say yes to everything, people will cross those boundaries a lot. And it's going to really cost your mental health and your time. And it's so not worth it. So at the business, we always say like, protect yourself. And I didn't understand what that meant until later on in like the few months and years. That's when I started to realize, okay, they mean protect myself as in protect your time and protect your boundaries and don't let anyone cross it, because they will take advantage of it. So, it's very important to, protect your boundaries and protect yourself, but also speak up as well. Don't be afraid to say how you feel. Don't be afraid of what other people think, because at the end of the day, it comes from you and it comes from the heart. And I think it's really important to be honest with yourself as well, and just say when something isn't right. It's fine.
Yeah.
Just don't shut yourself off. Don't be completely because that is just really detrimental to you. And it's really important to just speak up, say something, and really try and do something about it. So those are the advice that I would give, and that things that I have learned. And don't be completely, don't shut doors on the experience that you've had, because at the end of the day, you experienced it for a reason, and you most likely learned something from it that will serve you really well in the future. Like Patricia and her luxury business, that I'm sure that helped with like Excel and stuff, and keeping track of like the sales.
Yes, exactly.
So those really do help. So you gain skills for a reason and use them. Not everyone has like Excel skills. I didn't have it when I first started. I kind of somewhat lied. Well, not completely, but like I lied a little bit because I was Excel. I'm not a
we all stretch the truth some way in our CV. It has to be. It's part of life.
Sometimes you have to for survival, right?
Exactly. That's so funny. It's true.
Oh my gosh. All right. So that is the episode. Patricia, thank you so much a bunch for jumping on this podcast with me and sharing your experiences and like, sharing, your advice and everything, because a lot of people are in this position and like just having to talk to me, and your energy is just insane. Like I love talking to you for hours, and I love it. I honestly, guys, I told her she's the right person to talk to. Like she has so much knowledge.
I love it. Oh, you're so sweet. Oh no, it's been such an honor being on this. Like, this is like my first ever like podcast or thing like this. So I'm just like, oh, this is my first one. How amazing. Yes. And it's an honor.
Oh, thank you. It's an honor to have you. I was just like, yes. Patricia's a talker like I am. She is going to say something.
Yes, girl.
She's going to do it. I was like, this is the girl I need. And you did not disappoint. Like you literally signed, sealed and delivered this podcast. So thank you to everyone at home that were listening to this podcast. And thank you to those who are watching the video version as well. I'll be coming out with so much more podcasts, interviewing and talking to amazing people. So stay tuned. And thank you guys so much. And I will see you in my next podcast/video. Bye, guys.